Hello? Hello?
Today, we're going to be diving into the deep history of Five Nights at Freddy's fan games. Some of these games are cinematic gems that rival the original FNAF, while some take Springtrap and turn them into Jeffrey Epstein. Also, I'm going to be ranking each on 3 categories: just gameplay, so if it runs smooth and it's unique; aesthetic, just based on how it looks; and then the characters will be the final category, so like if the characters aren't original and look good. But that's about it. Let's get into it. Five Nights at Candy's is a fan game heavily based off Five Nights at Freddy's 1, but it creates its own style with new characters in a different setting. The main animatronics include Sandy, Sydney, Blank, and the Rat, each with designs that feel familiar but still unique. The visuals are cleaner and more polished than the original, with brighter environments that contrast the creepy atmosphere. The characters look slightly more cartoonish at first, but still come off as unsettling. Gameplay is very similar to FNAF, using cameras and survival mechanics. It becomes very popular in community and is often seen as one of the best fan games. For the Five Nights at Candy's rankings, I'm going to go ahead and give gameplay a 5 out of 10, just because it looks a lot like the original FNAF. For the aesthetic, I'm going to give that a 7 out of 10. I think the areas look well lit, they look nice, cleaned up. For characters, I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. I really don't think they could do a lot better for characters. I think they did perfect. Sydney, Candy, the Rat, they're all unique. They have good lore to them, and that'll earn them a 21 out of 30 for the first game. So let's see if they can hold that up. Let's get into the next game. One Night at Flumpty's takes a much more goofy and surreal approach. The characters include Flumpty, Bumpty, Birthday Boy Blam, and other strange figures that are unnamed, all with very cartoonish and exaggerated designs. Visually, the game looks more like a hand-drawn cartoon than a typical horror game, which makes it stand out. Even though it still looks silly, the characters can feel creepy in an unexpected way. The gameplay is similar to FNAF, using cameras and survival mechanics, becomes very popular, and is known as one of the most creative and unique fan games in the Five Nights at Freddy's genre. For the One Night at Flumpty's rankings, we're going to go ahead and give gameplay a 4 out of 10. It's not too bad, it's just very weird. Doesn't really feel like you're actually been playing a game. It almost feels like you're playing like a puzzle. I don't even know how to explain it. For aesthetic, I went 6 out of 10. I think that's pretty fair. Not very aesthetically pleasing, but it's not terrible. I mean, the characters are kind of fun. And for characters, I went 7 out of 10 because they're just so fun. Like the one guy's on the camera pooping. That's pretty crazy. But overall, I think this game deserves that 17 out of 30 ranking. Pretty much middle of the road in the Five Nights at Freddy's fan games. Let's get into the next one. Joy of Creation takes a much darker and more realistic approach. The animatronics are Ignited, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy. They're redesigned to look heavily damaged and far more terrifying than the originals. The visuals are more detailed and realistic, with darker lighting that makes the game feel intense and immersive. The character designs focus on horror, which burn textures and glowing eyes that make them stand out. Gameplay is different from FNAF, featuring free movement and hiding mechanics instead of just cameras. It became extremely popular in the community and is often considered one of the scariest FNAF fan games. For the Joy of Creation rankings, we have gameplay 8 out of 10. It's just very good gameplay, completely different than FNAF. If you're going off like originality, this would be a 10 out of 10, but I'm just gonna give it 8 out of 10 here. I think it's just good, but it's just like not my type of gameplay in the end. Aesthetic, I went 7 out of 10. It's very aesthetically pleasing. Realistically, this could be like a 9 out of 10, but I went 7 out of 10 just because a lot of it feels more like cutscenes and stuff, which a lot less gameplay and more cutscenes. Characters went 7 out of 10. It's a very cool twist on the characters, but the fact that they're the original ones, I kind of wanted to go lower here, but I still went with a 7 out of 10, which would bring them to a 22 out of 30 total, and that puts them in first place. Let's move on to the next game. FNAF Plus reimagines the original with a much more darker and more realistic tone. The main characters, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, are redesigned to look more disturbing, with sharper details and more lifelike features. Visually, the game is far more detailed than the original, using lighting and shadows to create a heavier horror atmosphere. The animatronics feel less cartoonish and more like something you wouldn't want to be around in real life. Gameplay stays similar with cameras and power management, but the pacing and tension feel more intense. Even though it's a fan project, it gained a lot of attention and hype in the FNAF community. For the FNAF Plus rankings, I went gameplay 5 out of 10. Just like what I said at Five Nights at Candy's, it's just a complete copy, which you can't get mad for that. I mean, that's what it was trying to be, but 5 out of 10 for gameplay. Aesthetic, I went 7 out of 10. Again, very similar to Five Nights at Freddy's 1. It is Five Nights at Freddy's 1. It does look better just because it's FNAF Plus, but 7 out of 10 for aesthetic. Then characters, obviously, you already know what I did here. It's 6 out of 10, just because it is a full-on copy with characters that just look more detailed. Except Chica, I did not like the way they did look Chica in this game. She looks like she's on fence. She looks horrible, and Chica's my favorite character too, so I do not appreciate that. That probably bumped it down a little bit. But overall, 18 out of 30 for FNAF Plus. I'm going to try to keep my bias out of this the best I can because I love this game growing up. I also loved Chuck E. Cheese and like the animatronics and stuff. But this game is using a real life restaurant theme to create a different kind of horror. The characters are usually based on animatronics like Chuck E. Cheese, Helen, and Jasper, redesigned to look more unsettling. Visually, these games often try to recreate the real locations, giving them a more realistic but eerie feel. The designs can vary, but many lean into making the characters look more disturbing than their real life counterparts. Gameplay is very similar to FNAF, with cameras, power management, survival elements. These fan games are probably popular online, especially because they mix nostalgia with horror. For their rankings for Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese, gameplay went 8 out of 10. I love the gameplay, bro. I really do. I think they took a perfect twist on Five Nights at Freddy's and like made it different, like especially with like the way the shutting door is. I love the way you keep watching. I love this game, bro. I just love this game. Aesthetic, I went 7 out of 10 because it's a good game. I don't know, 7 out of 10 is a 70% on test. I think they did a good job with the aesthetic. I think sometimes the characters show up kind of weird looking on the cameras, like they can clearly tell if they're cropped in, but whatever. Characters went 6 out of 10 because they're real life characters. There's no thought put into this, but I still think they look very good. Definitely you can tell they're like not real, but they still look really good. I went at it, and this is a 21 out of 30. Let's move on to the next one. I can't say the title of this one on YouTube, but Five Nights at F-Boys takes a completely different approach with humor instead of horror. The characters are the same animatronics like Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, but they're exaggerated and turned into ridiculous, over-the-top versions of themselves. Visually, the game uses simple, almost low-quality sprites on purpose to match its chaotic and comedic tone. The designs aren't meant to be scary at all, but more awkward and absurd. Gameplay is very different, focuses on RPG-style mechanics instead of the usual camera system. It became popular for how wild and offensive it is, humor-wise, gaining a cult following in the fan community game. For Five Nights at F-Boys, gameplay, I went 2 out of 10. This game sucks. 2 out of 10 is being very generous with the gameplay. It's horrible, bro. Aesthetic, I went 4 out of 10. The aesthetic is just pretty much the gameplay. It's just not good. Characters went 6 out of 10 because I can respect them, at least being a little bit funny, but realistically, that was just to boost this grade. The characters are exact copies of the original, bro. That should not even be a 6 out of 10, but I did it anyway. Total is a 12 out of 30. That's definitely going to be last place for now because what's coming next might shock you for the next couple games. We might honestly beat that 12 out of 30 for the worst game. Let's get into the next one. Day Shift at Freddy's goes in a completely different direction with a heavy focus on comedy. Instead of traditional animatronics being the main threat, the game centers around weird characters like Dave Miller and absurd versions of familiar faces. The visuals are much simpler and essentially low quality, almost like a retro or joke style game. The character designs leading to that goofy style, making fun more than the actual scary parts. Gameplay is totally different from FNAF, focusing more on exploration, dialogue, and choices rather than survival mechanics. It became popular for its humor and bizarre storytelling, especially among fans who wanted something less serious. For the Day Shift at Freddy's rankings, gameplay I went 7 out of 10. I honestly enjoy this game. I think it's kind of a fun little twist. It's something that you can play if you're just looking to have some fun, I guess. Aesthetic, I went 4 out of 10. It definitely does not look the best. The characters don't even actually talk. They have more like a blah, 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 blah. Like when you're playing like some other game, like I'm trying to think of a game that does that, but you know what I mean. And then characters went 5 out of 10 because I don't even know. These characters are weird, bro. There's like the originals, but there's also like they created their own characters, but total I went 16 out of 30. I think that's pretty fair. Just on the pretty much a mid game, but that'll save them from being last because of Five Nights at F-Boys, dude. That game sucks, but I don't think anybody's beating Five Nights at F-Boys. Let's move into the next. Tealer Lamb feels way more darker and more cinematic than most fan games. The main characters include Tealer, Willow, Tacy, Frill, and Mischievous, all designed with a creepy carnival and amusement park theme. Instead of copying the classic Freddy Fazbear look, the animatronics have more detailed and stylized designs that make the game stand out. The gameplay still uses survival horror mechanics like FNAF, but it adds exploration, health systems, and more movement around the facility. Visually, the game looks extremely polished for a fan project, with strong lighting and unsettling environments. It became pretty popular in the FNAF community, and many fans consider it one of the most underrated FNAF games out there. For gameplay, I went 8 out of 10. I mean, the gameplay is very good. It's completely different than the original FNAF. There's a lot more combos and keyholes you gotta kind of figure out. Gameplay is very good. Original, it looks good. Aesthetic, I went 6 out of 10. It's very dark. It's kind of hard to see what's going on sometimes, but that kind of adds into the horror factor about it. But I still went 6 out of 10 for aesthetic. Characters went 8 out of 10. They're very original. They look nothing like the original FNAF characters, which I like for the originality. and that brings the total to a 22 out of 30, which is a very good ranking. I'm not sure if that's first or not, I have to remember, but let's move on to the next game. Yeah, we're going to cover Finds at Epstein's. Finds at Epstein's heavily takes off a Finds at Freddy's 3 approach, but leans more in a dark humor value. It features exaggerated, often crude versions of characters loosely based on real-world figures like Jeffrey Epstein, Stephen Hawking, and Donald Trump, which makes it very different in tone from typical FNAF fan games. The visuals are usually lower quality and more chaotic, focusing less on polish and more on acerb, edgy design choices. Character designs tend to be intentionally over the top or bizarre rather than genuinely creepy. Gameplay still follows a basic FNAF formula with cameras and survival elements, but it's often less refined. It gained attention mainly for its edgy humor and controversy rather than strong gameplay. For the Finds at Epstein's rankings, gameplay, I went 7 out of 10. It's just Finds at Freddy's 3. That's literally all it is. The craziest part, bro, was the kid lore. Like when you do like the lore for Springtrap, it's literally a kid, which is even crazier when you really think about it, bro. That's just nuts. Aesthetic, I went 6 out of 10. It's Finds at Freddy's 3, but it's on Epstein Island. That's all I can say for that one. Characters, 9 out of 10. Bro, the characters are really good. I mean, it's real life, bro. I mean, I literally cannot go for 9 out of 10 there. I almost want to go 10 out of 10. It's literally Epstein, Hawking, and Trump. I mean, it feels like a real horror game, bro. This might be the scariest one on the list. That would put it at 21 out of 30. That's the final game I did for today. Let's get into the final ranking. All right, here are the final rankings for the Finds at Freddy's fan game. Yeah, that'll do it for the video then. So if you guys like this, please like and subscribe and all that stuff. I'm trying to make like more videos a day. I usually post like once every 2 days about. This is only my third like actual FNAF video that I'm trying to make, but yeah, if you like this, please like and subscribe and comment what you want to see next. Thank you for watching.